from my limited analysis of all of this, looking at the past and looking at today, I think one of the things that's happened is we have, strayed very far from principle, and a lot of what we do is kind of, I don't want to like play acting, if you want. Like, we have the illusion of a working and functioning justice system. We have the illusion of security, but when you scratch at the surface of that, we find a mess underneath it. And I think one of the biggest problems for this is accountability. We talk about the courts as being available to everybody. You can get your justice in the courts, but it's not entirely true if you don't have the time or the resources to take a TSA agent to court who has, done something untowards when you were going through security. I mean, a lot of the time people are being precluded from finding justice simply on the circumstances of it. But if we kind of, combined or had this attitude of reputation, where reputation it's not sort of an abstract idea, it's more concrete. I often say that the only thing worse than a hierarchy is not recognizing a hierarchy of rights and duties and, obligation when they actually exist. So I think that's part of the problem. Like, if you have a bad judge or if you have a bad TSA operative, like, what do you do? What can you do about it? And I think your hands feel tied a lot of the time. One of the other points that you mentioned about prison as well, and this is an objection that I get quite often, is like, well, are we going to be using prisons, private or otherwise, as a way of kind of like altering behavior? Or is it like, I think we need to ask the question of what are we trying to achieve through these processes of justice and the courts and so on. If it is punishment, well, then we're not doing a bad job. We are doing a very good job of punishing people for things that are kind of, maybe we could find better alternatives for. But there's also the question of, well, what happens, and is it appropriate to put a monetary tag on offences, whether it's a breach of duty, whether it's a harm, an accidental or willful harm? Is that appropriate? And my response to that is, well, it's not very different than using a prison. The only difference is when we put someone in prison, we're saying to the victim, the harm that you suffered is equal to this much time versus this much money. So, I don't think there's an easy, straightforward answer to these issues that we're discussing here, but I do believe very strongly that the way things were done in the past, although not perfect, can maybe remind us of the principles that underpin the legal system and the justice system, in first principles, should I say. And that will hopefully, by having conversations like this, will begin to shift our consciousness towards those sorts of outcomes. And we as individuals and as a people will begin to expect more from what we can do with justice, what we can do with the courts and so on.